Good morning, everyone, or good evening, wherever you are. Thanks for being here in this live stream. It's me, Ari Dossett. I'm your anthropologist and sociologist. Before I continue, first question I always ask is, can you hear me clearly? Quite important. Let me know if you can hear me clearly, please. Thank you very much. I see the manager's here. Hi, the manager. Thanks for being here. The rest is here. Let yourself be known too. Except when you're in traffic, please pay attention to the roads. Thank you very much. Thank you. I don't want any accidents to happen while you're listening to this live. No. If you're in traffic, pay attention to the road. If not, participate in the live stream, please. Thank you. So, quick question. Can you all hear me? All right. Okay. So, I'll just wait for 1 more minute. Can you all hear me clearly? At the 7 minute mark, I'm going to continue with the live, with the class, I mean. Hold on. All right. About the phrase questionable character. What is questionable character? Questionable character is any time someone's core attitudes are dysfunctional. Or, better said, let me explain first what character is, so we all know we're on the same page over here. A character is your default attitude. For example, let's say you're at work. Let's say you're a woman and you're at work, and you're on your periods also. During the day, you're kind of dismissive towards other people. Why dismissive? Because you're quite tired and you're on your periods too. Is that how you are naturally? No. Naturally, you tend to be a bit more open towards other people. So you have an open character, because that's your default attitude. But that doesn't mean that all the time you're like that. Okay, maybe you are an individual who's quite transparent. That's your default attitude. But if you're around people that are strangers, you tend to be a bit more reluctant. So you have attitudes that are situational, based on situation, and you have attitudes based on how you actually are default. Now, how you are by default, that is character. How you are in situations, that's not character. That's being practical. So now we know what character is really about. So to have a questionable character simply means that the core attitudes of how you are don't add up with reality. That's what it comes down to. So, before I continue with this live, I need to ask you a question. How many of you ever encountered someone with questionable character? So let me know. By the way, if you're driving a car or in traffic, you know what I'm about to say. Then focus on the road. I'm about to plug in my laptop so I can share the screen with you. I just had to restart my computer suddenly, so that's why I switched to my mobile phone. I'm going to switch to my computer again. Don't worry. Okay. Hold on. Questionable character is more common than you realize. But you may ask Rashid, if it's so common, how come we barely hear about it? Or how come people barely talk about it? Well, we're going to get to that very soon. Again, don't worry about it. We're getting to that soon. Okay. But first, I'm going to shift back to my laptop. Okay. All right. So I'm on my computer again, which is good. So now let me share my screen with you. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to talk about this, what I'm sharing anyway. So if you're in traffic, don't engage yourself. Thank you very much. Very much appreciated. Okay. Let me check. Let me make this a bit bigger over here. By the way, the reason why you can read Dutch is because my browser's in Dutch, because I'm in the Netherlands at the moment. So, conspiracy. What is a conspiracy? A secret plan by a group to do something unlawful or harmful. For example, she shared 5 years in prison for taking part in a conspiracy to sell stolen artworks. Or in the act of plotting or conspiring. They were cleared of conspiracy to pervert the court of justice. Okay? Now, check the Wikipedia page about conspiracy. You get more about it. And conspiracies, you can have a civil conspiracy, that's an agreement between people to deceive, mislead, or defraud others of their legal rights or to gain an unfair advantage. You also have conspiracy in the legal sense, when it's criminal, an agreement between people to break the law in the future, in some cases having committed an act to further that agreement. Conspiracy can be political, an agreement between people with the goal of gaining political power or meeting a political objective. So in that case, conspiracy doesn't always have to be fully harmful, but when you deal with politics, it often is. You have hub and spoke conspiracy. That's a conspiracy in which one or more principal conspirators, the hub, and several similar agreements with others and spokes will know concerted actions contemplated, usually by the success of the concerted action depending on the participation of other spokes. So hub and spoke conspiracy is a very big conspiracy in which a lot of people take part of. Now we know what a conspiracy is. I already explained it before. And now in history, you have quite some conspiracies. Okay, let me see if I can find the list over here. No, this is only about the law. But in any case, conspiracies are common in history. They happen all the time. But there's an issue with a lot of people. They tend to follow conspiracy theorists. Now, there's a big difference between a conspiracy and a conspiracy theory. A conspiracy theory is when you assume something must be a conspiracy by default. And that can be troublesome indeed. It doesn't mean that conspiracy theorist is wrong about the fact, but the facts may be able to be explained differently. For example, if I say that a barbershop is in on political corruption, that may be true, but what do I base it upon? If I base it upon several politicians going there to that barbershop, people say, well, hold on a minute. You also have politicians going to the same supermarket if you live in the same area. Does it mean that supermarkets are part of some plot? No. So it can also be that politicians live in the same area and therefore go to the same supermarket, same barbershop. Doesn't have to be that the barbershop is involved in something. Now, it is possible that the barbershop is involved in some political conspiracy, but it doesn't have to be just because many politicians go there. Because politicians outside of work are also human beings like the rest of us with families and all of that. You know what I mean? So a conspiracy theory is when you assume by default there's a conspiracy going on, even though it may not be the case. So I don't recommend being involved in conspiracy theories. If you listen to conspiracy theory, look at the facts they're talking about and do your own research. But don't just be stuck on it must be a conspiracy, because that will lead to paranoia and all types of other stuff that we don't want. So it's clear now that you have conspiracies and conspiracy theories. Okay. Now, one issue a lot of people have is that they think conspiracies only apply to high society or people with money and leverage. Well, it doesn't have to be. I mean, remember, a conspiracy is anytime a group of people come together to do something that's questionable. So it's illegal against the law of the land, or it can be harmful by default. So you don't have to be a multimillionaire to be part of a conspiracy. You can be a bloke across the street that just wants a pat on the back. You can also be part of a conspiracy. For example, let's say Farmer Joe is beating his wife often and screaming at his children. Well, that is a big issue. The community should do something about it. But what if everyone decides, you know what, we don't want to be involved, so let's just stay out of it. In that case, that is a conspiracy. Why is it a conspiracy? Because now the public is allowing something harmful to happen just so they can escape. Instead of forcing Farmer Joe to go into therapy and look for help, or to force a divorce through the court of law, and to make sure that there's a solution for the children growing up, arranging a step that whatever, instead of actually dealing with the situation, you just want to escape and be left alone. That is a conspiracy by itself. So that 15-year-old, or maybe even 12-year-old, just a kid, is also part of a conspiracy, something it should not be part of. So some people are part of a conspiracy due to peer pressure. If you're 12 years old and everyone in your environment is going one direction, even though you don't agree with it, you're just 12 years old. What the heck can you do? You can't do much. Not even on a spiritual level can you do that much. You know what I mean? In this case, you get along, even though you don't want to. But the moment you're grown, you should be firm in, I don't want to get along with this. This is wrong. This is evil. This goes against Heavenly Father. And again, let me share the screen again. Hold on. Just like you see over here. When people think about conspiracy, I want to think about political conspiracies at high level between governments. And those are the ones we acknowledge a lot of. But it's what is foolish to think only happens at high levels. If you believe that, you are delusional. Simple as that. Now, I hope it's clear to you now that the public itself makes conspiracies all the time. It can be there's a birthday party, and let's say you have Jenny. Jenny has been good friends with Barbara since they were little children, and it's a birthday party. They're all teenage. They're in the late teens. They finish high school, but go to college. But Jenny is not invited to the birthday party. She didn't get an invite, not even to social media. How come Jenny was not invited and she's been good friends with Barbara since young? It is because now Barbara has joined a sorority, and now to please her sorority sisters, she ignores people who are not part of the sorority. And everyone around says to Jenny, well, Barbara just been busy lately. She just forgot to invite you to a birthday party. Don't take it personally. But everyone around knows perfectly well that Barbara is not the same like she used to be. Barbara has changed. Barbara now has a cult mentality since she joined the sorority. Instead of telling Jenny, listen, you used to be good friends, you used to be childhood friends, but it's better to let it go now because Barbara has changed. She is not that reliable anymore. Instead of just admitting that and telling Jenny that, people say, well, she just had a busy day, whatever. Now, this is also conspiracy. It's harmful to let Jenny think that Barbara is still the same, even though she changed for the worse. So to act like Barbara is still the same and sugarcoating it, you're not endangering Jenny. What if this Barbara becomes demonically attached, though to rituals, the sorority, and now Jenny's harmed by it too? See what I mean? There's a difference between being watchful, how you communicate things. You're not going to be transparent and reveal everything to everyone. That's not proper. Not even at jobs is it proper because you may be arrested because some information is classified. But when it comes to dealing with other people, you need to assess what and who you're dealing with and what you communicate to them or not. If it's not wise to communicate something to them, you make an excuse, you tell them what you want to hear, and you move on. That's not lying, it's just being wise. Lying is when you break trust, get advantage of other people. When you break trust between people just to get your advantage, that's lying. Lying, according to the Bible, is breaking trust just to get advantage of other people. But withholding information for practical and proper reasons, that's not lying. That's being wise. Even Christ did that by speaking to parables. One time people asked Jesus, are you going to that feast of 4 days? He said, no, I'm not. A few days later, Jesus went. Jesus didn't tell him his intention, I'll go a few days later. Just told him he's not coming. And it was correct. He didn't go that day. But Jesus did not say specifically that day he's not going, just saying he's not going. He did this on purpose to divert attention away from him because people were not worthy to be focused on him at that moment because he would have hindered it. You know what I mean? For example, one time Jesus healed a man and he told them, don't tell anyone I'm the one that healed you. But didn't Jesus know that people would ask him, how come you're better? Who helped you out? Why would you tell them, don't tell anyone I healed you? Guess what? The man did not listen to Jesus. He told everyone it was Jesus who healed him. And before you know it, the masses were upset with Jesus' presence began to hinder him with false requests. So Christ was hindered in actually ministering to people that needed it because the crowd was hindering him. If the man would have kept his mouth shut about Jesus healing him, Jesus would be able to help those people who needed it. But what should that man have done? He should have given them false information. I just prayed to God and God helped me. Now, he did pray to God and God did come and help him. So that would be factual, but it wouldn't have revealed the full truth. But he could have said, well, this powerful teacher that sojourned over here laid hands on me and I got better. He could have been vague about what happened and still given the facts what happened, not showing the full truth, who it was that helped him out. Or if people were persistent, just giving them misinformation, telling something completely different didn't happen, just to throw them off. That would not be lying. Lying is when you break trust unnecessarily just to get an advantage. All right? Before I continue, is it clear what the difference is between lying and being smart? Do you understand the difference between lying and being smart? Let me know if you understand it. Do you understand the difference? Let me know. Now, what I want you to realize is that conspiracies are not just something of the elite. It's something the public does on a regular basis. And there's a difference between a conspiracy and social framing. Even though a conspiracy is a type of social framing, not all social framing are conspiracies. So I want to explain social framing and also explain societal framing onto you. Social framing is what people do on a regular basis, and societal framing is what society does. That's a big group. Hold on. Okay, I want to share my screen again with you. Yeah. Okay. Can you all see the screen? Let me know, please. All right. Framing. Framing is just it's a verb, it's a common activity. You do it in construction when you're building a frame to build the house or to build some furniture. So when you're building a building, you need to build a frame. That's framing. You also have framing when it comes to the law, the legal. A frame up is called, or a setup or stitch up, also called just framing, means when you falsely accuse someone of a crime or you mess with the crime scene to make someone appear guilty. So you incriminate someone unfairly just to make them go to prison without them doing even though they didn't commit a crime. This happens. It happened in history quite sometimes, and it's still happening till this day. How often does it not happen in the United States, for example, that someone is released from prison because it was proven for long other conviction that they didn't do it, either through DNA testing or something else. So framing or a frame up, it means setting someone up happens. Framing, you also use in photography about using a frame how you take a picture. Okay? So you also have framing when it comes to the internet and also sports you have framing. But the frame I want to focus on is framing in a social context. All right? Just think about it. Let's say you go to YouTube. You type in narcissism and you find a video of this woman who talks about how she survived her narcissistic ex-husband. She said, oh, my ex-husband should be a narcissist. He used to do this and that, gaslight me, all in all. Okay. That's her story. She's sharing on YouTube. And you see that she's been on the internet for a while, sharing stories about narcissistic abuse. And you can confirm she's divorced and all of that. But then someone tells you, Kevin, you've been listening to this woman talking about her being narcissistically abused by her ex-husband and all of that. But haven't you noticed that she always frames the history in a way to make it look like the victim? How come she never tells you what she did throughout those years? How come for years she didn't do anything about the situation by leaving the situation? Long story short, you find out that the story she's telling about her past don't add up. So indeed, she was married, she divorced, there were conflicts, and you're not saying that the ex-husband is not a narcissist, but she's narcissistic too, always portraying herself as being the victim. So she's framing
the ex-husband in the negative daylight in order to frame herself as being the good person. So framing in a social sense is based on how you present information. Let's say, for example, you hear the news that someone stabbed. So you say, before you see the news and you see that a migrant stabbed a local individual. And now all over the internet and you hear about migrant attacking local. And immediately you have the far right saying that's why we need to stop mass migration. That's why we need to have stricter border control. We need to guard our borders. So now they're framing what happened as, you see, this is proof why we don't need mass migration. Now they're using it to justify the racist policies. When you look at the full story, the migrant stabbed the local after the local jumped on him, beating him up. So the judge ruled the migrant act out of self-defense. The migrant did not even carry a knife. It was the local who was the perpetrator that beat him up and carried a knife. The migrant just quickly grabbed the knife to stab the individual, get him off of him. This individual intended to not only beat him up, but stab him. And the defendant even admitted in court that he was guilty. He attempted to beat him up and stab him. But okay, that's the full story. But in media, they only hear, oh, migrant stabbed local. And now the right wing and the racist groups are used that, wow, you see, that's why they don't need mass migration. You see what I mean? So they leave out certain facts of what happened, only highlight certain facts of it to make an appeal for their agenda. That is social framing. Now, is all social framing bad? No. Let's say that someone, let's say someone was fired from their job. You know what I mean? And now you listen to the individual and he tell you that there was conflict at work for a while and now he was fired. Well, it's a bad thing he has been fired because now he has some financial difficulty. But there's opportunities for him to find a better job or to start his own business and all that. So yes, it's a bad thing that happened that he was fired from his job just like that. But there are also opportunities for him. Now, are you going to focus only on the opportunity, saying, it's not that bad, you go back from the job, look at it from a positive way? No. It is a bad thing, was fired from his job. It is a bad thing. But it's not just a bad thing, because it's not only bad things are there. There are also opportunities for him. So when you want to motivate the guy, you tell him, listen, you're being fired from a job. It's a bad thing, absolutely. However, it's not the only thing that goes on. So now you frame the situation in a constructive way. You admit the bad that happens, but you don't meditate on the bad. You frame it in a positive way, in the sense that you admit the bad. You're not delusional, like you don't acknowledge the bad. What you admit is bad. It will be difficult for now, but it's not all there is. That's good. Someone that's pessimistic would focus completely only on the bad. Oh, you were fired from a job. Oh my God, I'm going to pay the rent. I'm going to do this. Oh Lord, you could get just very quickly. So someone that's pessimistic is looking at the fact that's bad and only focus on the fact that's bad and not look at the whole situation like, okay, it's a bad thing happened, but it's more going on. So social framing does not have to be negative or wrong. It can also be a way to motivate people and to give therapy to people. And by the way, if you frame things in a negative way all the time, you tend to become paranoid, narcissistic, and all that, so we don't need that. But there is a thing called societal framing. And societal framing is what society as a whole does. Societal framing is when society projects a restriction onto people, and society labels them as evildoers or bad news if you don't comply with the restriction. This is different than demotivating bad behavior. So if people in society look down upon people shoplifting, That's a constructive attitude to demotivate shoplifting. That we don't need as many prisons anymore for people in for shoplifting. It will spare everyone difficulty and time. But if people in society will say that, if you don't do the 9 to 5 because you want more options, you're just lazy, what are they doing? They're making you feel they are blackmailing you and accepting a financial restriction just to keep society functional. Is the 9 to 5 a natural thing? No. It's something that's constructed. And I believe since Henry IV, that became the norm worldwide. Slowly. So the 9 to 5 is not your destiny. It's something that's expected of you. Are there people living without the 9 to 5 and still making ends meet? Yes, there are. Can you do that? Yes. But the society tells you that the 9 to 5 is your duty, and you're not doing that. It's making you lazy or making you whatever. They're just blackmailing you to tolerate that restriction. That is societal framing. When society insists on a restriction on you, and any defiance from you is perceived as an attack. And why it's societal? Why it's thing? Societal framing is wrong because the restriction 9 out of 10 times cannot be justified. If people don't want you to, let me say something. They don't want you to walk near a minefield. Well, that's not societal framing because you should stay away from a minefield. You may get hurt and injured for life. You may even die. If someone doesn't want you to steal, okay, that's obvious what the people don't want you to steal. That's not societal framing. If people don't want you to do drugs, because drugs can kill you and it won't benefit anyone, of course, that's not societal framing. The moment a restriction becomes societal framing is when the restriction cannot be justified. Or let's say now, you call people out for being neglectful. And I'll tell you, you shouldn't call people out. It's their business, their privacy, their private lives. That's societal framing. Because now, that restriction that should mind your own business kind of hints that people have a right to be neglectful. Something they don't. So societal framing can also be statements and attitudes people adapt. For example, mind your own business. I want to be left alone. You should leave people alone. You should whatever. This whole mind your own business thing is societal framing, so you don't challenge other people's neglect. That's all it is. Societal framing starts when you're a child growing up. If you're a child and you call something out that's off, and the adults feel embarrassed, they'll say you have a big mouth. You need to learn some respect. That action taken against you, that accusation of having a big mouth is societal framing. They are insisting on restriction on you, and your defiance is seen as an attack. Is it clear to you now what societal framing is? Let me know in the live chat, please. Let me know. Now, social framing is what we all do. And we should do it the right way for the right reasons. Okay? If something bad happens, we acknowledge the bad. We're not going to be in what they call in the world toxic positivity. First of all, there's no such thing as toxic positivity. Toxic positivity is just denial. Toxic denial, just call for what it is. And we shouldn't be in toxic denial. We should admit the bad things, realize the bad things not all there is. We can do something about it and we can learn from it. So social framing is good if you do it the right way. Societal framing is always bad. It's all based on blackmailing people into restrictions that don't add up. Now, what is the connection between societal framing and conspiracies? Every conspiracy is societal framing in practice. It all is. Every conspiracy is societal framing in practice. Or better said, every conspiracy is an act, a collective act of societal framing. Now, before I continue, whom of you have ever been subjected to societal framing in the open? We all been subjected indirectly. How many of you in the open have been the target of societal framing? Let me know the live chat. Let me know. Now, societal framing is something you can recognize immediately. Because in societal framing, it's all about the restriction. The restriction is what is really put out there. And one thing you need to understand here, societal framing and politics go hand in hand. Or better said, you cannot have societal framing without politics. Because politics is all about hiding the blame of the public. So if you want to hide the blame of the public, then you need to put a restriction in place on what it questions the narrative. So automatically, you will societally frame anyone who questions the narrative. Simple as that. Now, I want you to use this knowledge in your daily life. How do I want you to use this knowledge? Well, very simple. The people that are around you, or the people you're involved with, or you're in contact with, ask yourself whether or not they are trustworthy or they're questionable. Now, if someone is mentally ill and because that they cannot function properly, in this case, they're neither questionable nor trustworthy, they're just mentally ill. They need maintenance quickly, they need intervention. If you don't contribute their intervention, your problem is getting worse. So if someone's mentally ill, they need therapy, they need intervention, arrange therapy intervention for them if you can. Simple as that. But if someone is not mentally ill, then you cannot explain their dysfunction. If the dysfunction is long-term and there's no mental illness in play, then it simply means that they are questionable people. That means that their core attitudes are wrong. Simple as that. Let's go back to the first example I gave in this live stream. You have Farmer Jack. What was Farmer Joe? I said, okay, let me suggest Farmer Joe. Farmer Joe is beating his wife and screaming at his children. The community knows when nobody does anything about it. Those children grow up with psychological trauma that takes them years to recover from. And at the same time, the community who enabled and empowered the abuse acts like the grown children have to face up their adults, all of that will dominate. Those children did not abuse themselves. They couldn't. They were abused by the environment who didn't do anything about their abusive father. The mother is also to blame for staying with that man and not calling the authorities or whatever. So in this case, the community failed those children. Those children are adults. Now, as adults, they have to go through years of recovery. Who's going to pay all those medical bills? Are they going to psychologists, psychiatrists all the time? They have to do it, or the insurance has to do it. Why isn't the community that neglected and take responsibility? Because the moment they responsibility that made, okay, we neglected you all when you were children, we're sorry, that they also need to pay restitution by paying for their medical bills and contribute them being better today as adults. And because the community doesn't want to go there, they also act like, oh, they had no idea what's going on. Oh, really? Your parents so horrible? Oh my God. They will act like they're have so much sympathy for you, even though they knew all along what's going on. They just they don't want to be involved to do something about it. And now that their neglect is backfiring, now they want to act like, oh, we had no idea, or they want to act like, what could we have done, whatever. They want to act like they're the victim. In this case, the people in the community are questionable. And if, let's say this happened years ago, and you move into the community, and you notice that the community is always framing and blaming certain adults for being dysfunctional. If in a community or in an area, you have certain adults always complain about, oh, so why do you always complain about these adults? Let's say you have Jackie. Jackie is 25-year-old. She's in the nightclubs, in and out, sexually promiscuous. Everyone keeps complaining about her. So you think to yourself, wait a minute, is Jackie the only promiscuous woman around? Really? Why is everyone complaining about her? The fact you notice that is a bit weird that everyone's complaining about this Jackie all the time. You should think, okay, why are all these grown folks complaining about your Jackie continuously? Is she the only sexually loose woman around? No, she's not. So then you think there's a reason why they're so complaining about her sexual promiscuity, and you don't notice the one of anyone else. And the reason isn't a good one. So now it's up to you to admit there's something wrong here and look into it. The moment you don't look into it, you're in on whatever the violence you're doing towards Jackie. Yes, Jackie is wrong for not being sexually responsible towards community, and the community is wrong for looking down on her. But you're wrong too for not admitting there's something wrong, and I need to figure out what goes on so I don't be part of it. Let's say now you do your part and you look into the history. You find out that Jackie was sexually molested often when she was a child, and that the perpetrator is still walking around, and the perpetrator even has good friends in the community. Now they hold on a minute. There's been rumors for a while this guy's been molesting children, and Jackie here was also called it out multiple times that she was a victim. There was a police report and everything, but the guy is still walking around, and nobody took this from the guy. Nobody took action on behalf of Jackie. But now she's a grown woman and totally sexually messed up. Everyone looks down on her. It is because the community contributed to her become that way. Now, of course, Jackie is a grown woman. She should take responsibility and look for help. That's on her. But it's not all on her. She ended up as messed up as she is because of the community that also violated her. And not because the community doesn't want to look guilty, even though they are guilty, they always highlight her adult dysfunction. So nobody will see their adult victimization when she was younger. Because the community had adult victimization towards her by neglecting her. So you had adult violation towards her when she was a kid by not doing something about the situation. And that adult violation towards her led her being so dysfunctional. So the community now, instead, so that their blame and their guilt is not shown, because if you want to frame themselves as good people, they highlight their adult dysfunction. You follow me? So conspiracies and societal framing are the norm in society. It happens over and over again. It's just never called out what it really is. Hold on. Let me look for a Bible verse for you. Hold on. Hold on. My Bible page me already. Going to the New King James Version of a woman. Okay. Let me share something with you now on the screen. Okay. We're going to Isaiah chapter 8, verses 12 and 13. There it says, Do not say a conspiracy, because we know all that these people call a conspiracy, nor be afraid of their threats, nor be troubled. The Lord of hosts, him shall you hallow. Let him be your fear, let him be your dread. And the official King James Version, let me go there too. It says, say ye not a confederacy to all them whom these people say a confederacy. Neither fear ye their fear, nor be afraid. Stand by the Lord of hosts himself. Let him be your fear, let him be your dread. Confederacy and conspiracy are similar. The thing is, a confederacy is often on a military level, and just conspiracy is just that conspiracy. Political conspiracies tend to become confederacies when it involves the military. All right? But it's clear. Here, the Lord did not say the conspiracies or confederacies don't exist. They don't happen. It's just that you shouldn't be afraid of it. Instead, you should realize that with God on your side, they are the ones who is something to be afraid of if they have a conspiracy against you. That's what it means with let him be your fear, let him be your dread. It doesn't mean that you have to be afraid of God, be terrified of him. Instead, it means that if there's conspiracies going on or societal framing, which is violence, organized violence, and organized violence is quite dangerous, people get hurt, your leverage above that should be your walk by faith and trust in God, using his power to overcome them. That's what it means in Isaiah chapter 8, verse 12 through 13. Amen? But for now, are there any questions about this topic? Please let me know. Please let me know. All right. Are there any questions about this topic? Let me know, please. Going to wait for 1 more minute to see if there are any questions come up. If no questions come up, I'll close down the live stream. Okay, 1 moment. Okay, just understand this. If someone it cannot function properly, though the mental illness, whatever, then they need help, that they're neither trustworthy nor questionable. They just need help. They need intervention. But if there's no mental illness in play, then and there's long-term dysfunction, that means they're questionable. Simple as that. Again, don't operate on groundless assumptions. Assumptions are natural. If I go to an Italian bakery, I should be able to assume that people that work at a bakery have some knowledge of Italian cuisine, or if Italy is on the map. I may excuse you don't know where Italy is on the map, but you should have some knowledge of Italian cuisine because it's Italian cuisine that you're offering over there at the Italian bakery. If I go to a hospital to get treatment, I have a right to assume that all the medical staff there finished their degree in in the medical field, or they're certified in the medical field. If they're not, why they work in that hospital? If I go to a graduation party, I should assume that everyone there that is being celebrated has gotten their diploma, because that's what it means. When you get your diploma, you graduate. So there's nothing wrong with assumptions. You can assume that every human being has lungs, because without lungs in your body, you can't breathe. Without breathing, you can't function. You can assume all human beings need sleep. Now, some human beings need more sleep than others, depending on their age and the conditions. That's true. So you can't say all human beings need 10 hours of sleep. That depends on their age and their condition. So, yes, you can't make a universal assumption all human beings need 10 hours of sleep. But you can make a universal assumption all human beings need sleep. Okay? So what I'm saying is that there's nothing wrong with assumptions. If the assumptions can be justified or accounted for. The moment you have assumptions you cannot account for or justify, you're dealing with groundless assumptions. And groundless assumptions is actually you being nonchalant and superficial. You can be nonchalant when you're dealing with, just a movie you've watched, or whether or not pizza should have pineapple on it or not. Well, you can debate on that, because those are not life-threatening or things. But the moment you have assumptions that the moment you're nonchalant about safety, well-being, and long-term interests of the community, that's wrong. That's criminally neglectful, because you're not part of the harm that goes on. So there's nothing wrong with having assumptions. Assumptions are natural, but can you justify and account your assumptions for? If that's not the case, then that means that you need to check your own attitude. That's so that you don't end up being questionable yourself. Okay, that's it for now. It's been almost an hour. I didn't get any questions. Thank you all for being here. Keep on doing Christ, be at peace, and I'll see you next time. Shalom.